What's an actual cause of death so extremely rare that it's hard to believe it's possible? Laughing to death. 50-year-old Alex Mitchell could not stop laughing for a continuous 25-minute period, almost the entire length of a TV show called Kung Fu Capers, and suffered a fatal heart attack as a result of the strain placed on his heart. Alex's widow later sent the Goodies, who were starring in that show, a letter thanking them for making his final moments so pleasant. I heard that recently, a sinkhole formed under some man's bedroom and took him with it. It was so deep that they couldn't find him. Definitely a unique death situation. My MIL used to be a surgeon. She told me about a patient they had back in the 90s. He died because of holding in a sneeze. Turns out he had an aneurysm in his brain that popped at that moment. I used to work with a man who had an elderly relative come to the hospital with symptoms suggesting a stroke, and he died later that evening. I don't remember all of the details, but everyone thought the family might be sitting on a big fat lawsuit, until the labs all came back. The relative had a type of leukemia that is diagnosed about 10 times a year in the US, and they've never come up with a chemotherapy protocol for it because nobody has ever lived long enough for them to do so. Beaver bites. I always think about that guy in Belarus. Innocent people have gone to jail for murder because the real explanation for why someone died was so rare and infrequent that courts didn't believe those explanations as plausible. 2 cases off the top of my head: Lindy Chamberlain, a dingo actually did eat her baby, and Kathleen Folbig had 4 children die from a rare genetic mutation. Fatal familial insomnia. You can't sleep, and you don't sleep, until you die, and it runs in the family. Being hit in the sternum at just the right moment to interfere with the heart's beating. It can't be predicted or avoided with any consistency, and leaves no clinical evidence. If it happens and someone with CPR skills isn't around, the person just dies, without a mark on them. Patricia Stallings was wrongfully convicted of murder after the death of her son Ryan on September 7, 1989. Because testing seemed to indicate an elevated level of ethylene glycol in Ryan's blood, authorities suspected antifreeze poisoning and they arrested Stallings the next day. She was convicted in 1991, in jail had another baby, diagnosed with methylmalonic acidemia, MMA, a rare genetic disorder that can mimic antifreeze poisoning. They both died of an illness that mimics antifreeze poisoning. In 1988, a dog fell from a building in Buenos Aires, Argentina, landed in a woman's head, killing her and the dog instantaneously. Then another lady, completely confused watching the event unfolding from the middle of a road, was ran over by a bus. Then shortly after that, an old man died from a heart attack out of the commotion of seeing both deaths. This happened under a couple of minutes. Source: https://nicole-hanley.medium.com/how-a-dogs-unfortunate-fall-lead-to-death-of-3-6C6B57982. Greek philosopher Aeschylus was killed when an eagle dropped a turtle on his head, mistaking his bald pate for a rock. Guy's beard was so long that when he tried to flee a house fire, he tripped over it and broke his neck falling down the stairs. Dude was a mayor too. Hans something or other. It isn't rare, but every year, many people die by putting a pressure washer journey nozzle in their ass or vagina, and shredding their internal organs. Choice: prion diseases. For some random reason a protein gets folded the wrong way and totally fucks you up. It's not alive, you can't kill it or fight it with drugs or antibiotics. Your own immune system is helpless against it. It causes more proteins to become misfolded and spreads through your body. Even after you die, your corpse is a hazard because the misfolded proteins are still there, waiting. Drowning in the desert. Guy got caught in a box canyon during a flash flood. The water was quickly reabsorbed into the dry desert soil and left a drowned man in the middle of the desert. Some rich lady in the early days of automobiles was known for always wearing long scarves, and one day it got caught in her wheels and snapped her neck. The 10th century Byzantine encyclopedia, the Sudla, chronicles a folkloric story of Lawgiver Draco's death in the Aegian Theatre. In a traditional ancient Greek show of approval, his supporters threw so many hats and shirts and cloaks on his head that he suffocated, and was buried in that same theater. A dingo really did eat that poor woman's baby, but nobody believed her and she went to jail for it. That one guy who died after getting stuck face first in an extremely claustrophobic cave. They could get to him, but couldn't get him out. Just left his body in the cave and cemented the thing shut. Nutty Putty Cave. Sashi Hidaka and his wife Tomio died from heart attacks during their first attempt to make love. The chance of suffering from a heart attack during sex is incredibly rare. But in the case of Hidaka and his wife, Tomio, the Japanese couple were married for 14 years but were too shy to have sex. Later one night they both got drunk while having plum wine and they decided to finally make love. https://www.theirport.live/oddity/Japanese-couple-die-from-heart-attack-during-first-intercourse/20571